Welcome to another episode of Random Access. Today we have the Batman spoiler review, and as you can see, I'm in a different location. But without further ado, let's get to it. So let's just start with the negatives. Okay, so first of all, I did not like the intro. I know that it's supposed to depict on Batman's detective side of things by seeing him using binoculars and spying, or should I say recon. I think it could have had a better intro, like Batman capturing a criminal, and then having the words "the Batman" with the main theme. The main theme where the car chase, where the Penguin's car is upside down, then you see Batman walking towards him with the fire behind him, and then that's the first time where we get the new Batman theme. I think that would have been a cool intro to leave us like in shock and in amazement. Now, I had high expectations when they said we're gonna see a new perspective of how Batman deals with a crime scene and see his detective work, but the only thing I saw was just Batman observing. We didn't hear narration, what's going on through his mind and as he's trying to figure things out. He just kept quiet and kept observing. And when somebody had a question, he just knew the answer. So I was kind of disappointed. It's supposed to be subtle, I guess, with just him being quiet and observant for him to be processing the crime scene in his head. I don't know. And then there's little puns that the Riddler leaves behind, like the first one with the thumbnail. Like, okay, that was pretty funny, but I see that more as something of the Joker would do and not the Riddler. And the Riddler, I was disappointed. It doesn't fit his MO. And you can say Batman's psychotic too, but you don't see him acting like he's all mental in the head. Falcone was a nice surprise, but I he doesn't look Italian to me, and he just doesn't fit the description. But then again, this is the early years. I understand that, but still, it wasn't the actor wasn't a good fit to be Falcone. And I don't like how Alfred didn't have a lot of screen time, and the screen time that he did have was just abused by Bruce, like telling him he's not his father. And when he wakes up from the hospital, the first thing is Bruce makes it all about him. Is it true what Falcone said? Like, what an ass. You could at least show some compassion and care for Alfred being alive. Then the cameo with the Joker, I feel like that's played out already. We had that in The Dark Knight, where it teased the Joker, and now this one's teasing it too, towards the end of the movie. How about some new characters like Clayface, somebody we haven't seen? Hollywood is just like overusing these characters because it's making money in the box office, but don't play out these characters too much. It was a good movie, but not as good as the Christopher Nolan's. I don't know what the big hype is about. The Riddler, from being introduced to him like as a menace and psychotic, like he had a great opening scene. I didn't even see him in the shadows behind that politician while he was watching the TV. To then when he gets caught and seeing him all like crazy in the head, it just didn't seem like the same character. So I no longer have fear for this character, but now pity. I didn't like that part. I think he overdid it just for like dramatic purposes, and I don't blame him, but I feel like that fits more the Joker's mental state and not the Riddler. But again, I get it. They're trying a different approach. And Robert Pattinson did a great job as the Batman, but I don't know, it's kind of like being cast in the Christopher Nolan's movies. It's just, I don't know, I feel like something's off. Kind of like how I felt off about the Riddler. It just, I don't know, something feels off about that. Okay, now on to the good stuff that I did like. The choreography, there were some badass fight scenes. And what I absolutely love even better was that they show some flaw in Batman. He got his ass kicked a couple times. That scene where he jumps off the building, I thought I was gonna finally see him in his bat wings, but it was a glide suit. That was kind of disappointing, but it makes sense. He hasn't got to that point yet. So if there is a trilogy, it would be nice to see his growth in all aspects of him being as Batman. The scene where he pulled the parachute too early and he hit the ground, yeah, it just showed that he still has work that he needs to figure out. The scene that I like was when Batman goes to the nightclub to first question the Penguin and how he's fighting multiple henchmen, security guards. Was a pretty good scene. It reminds me of The Dark Knight, where again Batman also went into a nightclub to find Falcone, but in this one it was the Penguin. The Batmobile was awesome. That big ass engine and the way the engine sounded, like it sounded menacing. It reminds me of Marvel's first interpretation of the Punisher, where he's building his own vehicle with like bulletproof and a big ass engine. I like how they showed Batman and Bruce as a loner, especially like at the funeral scene. He just seems like all lonely. He doesn't know how to communicate with people. And the scene where he's as Batman and Catwoman, something about you don't let people in because you're afraid to get hurt, and he's just kind of like emo, yeah. That was funny. This movie did have me glued the whole time, but that's just me. I know there's some people that are saying for them it kind of lagged in the second half, but for me, nowhere near where I was just getting bored with myself. The final fight where Batman is fighting against the Riddler minions was an interesting fight. He got shot a lot, and I was just kind of like, I wish the movie would explain more the armor he's using to be able to prepare bullets or even shotgun shells. The part where he goes down and is about to get his face blown off, where Catwoman comes to the rescue, you can see he's kind of passing out, but then another henchman comes behind Catwoman and he feels desperate. It kind of reminds me of that scene from Batman Beyond where Batman's too old and out of desperation he gets a gun and breaking his own rule. It kind of had this feeling. So Batman, he used an adrenaline shot, and when he's beating that Riddler henchman, you can tell like it just the adrenaline shot made him really like hyper and full of rage, kind of like as if he used steroids. That was an interesting scene to see, like Batman losing his shit. The part where Gordon unmasked the Riddler henchman and told him, "Who are you?" and he said, "Vengeance." And you get that look from Batman, like, "Hey, that's something I say." They made Batman ponder maybe what I stand for is the wrong thinking. To where at the end he had a change of perspective on what he should stand for, and I think the message was hope and not vengeance. That was interesting to see. It showed some growth in the character. But yeah, Batman's flaws show some realism. I like his, I guess you could say, a different version of the Batman where he's not in his suit, but he's still like being detective and scoping out the city and looking out for crime. I think the intro should have been that part where he's like, I can't be everywhere, but I know that my enemies think that I am the shadow. That should have been the intro. But it was interesting to see the teaser of the Joker, especially with the first criminals that Batman fights are like Joker henchmen, that we should have seen that coming. And the Riddler's clues are pretty complex. To see the relationship in Gordon and Batman trying to figure it out, although it's mainly Batman. Yeah, I like the portrayal of Catwoman in this movie. How she takes care of her kin, like that character Anika, and how she steals from the rich. She's kind of like a Robin Hood. And the strays in her apartment and all those cats makes it more true to her character, like the animated series. I'm not a comic book guy, but I have seen the animated series. Those are my comic books. I grew up with those shows. Now, the part where the whole point of the Riddler addressing the letters to Batman is so he can make him an accomplice at the end, where he had to get Falcone in his sniper shot. That kind of seemed dumb. I mean, if the Riddler's so smart and is complex with his crime scenes that he couldn't find another way to not use Batman to get to Falcone, maybe there's something I'm missing there. And aside from showing Batman's flaws, he also gets hit back by his enemies, things he missed as a detective, shows him that he's still a rookie. The car chase scene was great, except for the perspective of you being inside the vehicle, and it's kind of a blur, especially because of the rain. But I think that, but I think Matt Reeves did that to add some realism, for all I know. With all that said, I did enjoy the movie. I didn't hate it. Those are just my little criticisms. I do hear they're signed up to do two more sequels, so I'm interested to see where they may take it. But please don't have it. Please don't have another Joker. We're we don't want that character to be played out. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts. What did you think of the Batman? Do you agree with some of my points? Is there something I missed? Comment below and let me know. And as always, thank you for watching and remember to like and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.